saved $10,000 with one challenge this year. Wow. Any normal person would have stopped there, but I got greedy. I ran 8 more, and by the end of the year, I saved, actually, we're gonna count it together because I haven't even counted some of these yet. We are going to unstuff every single challenge, count every single dollar. And I'm gonna tell you which ones were worth it, which one almost broke me, and which one I am never doing again. So we're gonna start with the smallest one first and then work our way up to the $10,000 challenge. Let's start with this I've got 5 on it challenge. I'm honestly maybe halfway through this one, but I included it because I started it last year. I'm not gonna unstuff, but I'll tell you what's in here because I wanna finish it. So we have $5, $10, $15, $20, $25, $30 per page. And just because you know sometimes that math don't be mathin', we got our handy dandy calculator. So we have 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, 30, and 10. So in this challenge so far, we have $190. Can you write that up on our board? $190. The 800 Club. We released this one last year. You save anywhere from $1 up to, I believe there's one $100 spot in an effort to save $800. I completed this one, but we're gonna go ahead and pull the money out anyway. I have a variety of challenges and I do a variety of challenges, mostly for marketing. Y'all are always like, how are you doing 12 at a time? Well, because I am the marketing. But overall, if it was just me, I'd probably stick to 3 or 4. I like the variety. I'm a neurodivergent girly, so it kind of keeps me going. But overall, you could pick one challenge, stick to it till you finish it, celebrate, and then move to another. What are my plans for this money? I know y'all are going to be asking. So first up, I kind of went back and forth about it because it's super expensive to do right now, but I think I'm going to get me a custom PC. I've been gaming as of late this year, and it's a really good way for me to deal with stress and overwhelm from just being an entrepreneur and being a single girlie running a household. If you know, you know, it gets very ghetto. So sitting down and gaming is something I really enjoy. I'm not super social and outgoing in my personal life. I'm not a big people person, honestly. So gaming works for me. It's crazy that I'm like not a big people person, but I can't go anywhere without people like coming up and talking to me or trying to befriend me. And I'll be like, oh, yes, hello. As I slowly back out. It's crazy. Honestly, the saving challenges are so fun, but unstuffing them is literally the worst. It's just for me, like, I get bored so easily, dude. And it's just like, ugh, how many more do we have to pull? But Lord, when you get to deposit that money, it is so worth it. All right, so we are all unstuffed with our 800 challenge. This technically comes with these cards inside to tell you how much to save. But each time I put that amount in, I just go ahead and pull my card out. So here's most of my cards. You can see the $25 ones and such. My tracker is all completed. I need to cover off. So this challenge is done. Our $25 challenge. I was wondering if I should just wait to the end to count it all, but we'll see. Because I may want to cut this up into little Instagram videos. Because Lord, content creation is a full-time job. Everybody want to be a social media influencer till they see it is not what they think it is. And I'd be like, we have to do this for a business, let alone I surely wouldn't do it as a brand. Brands be reaching out to me all the time and I just, no thanks. Isn't it crazy how social media is changing, how we go through like different cycles as people? Now everybody wants things more analog. They want things more, less of the fakeness online, I guess. But if people stop consuming it, people will stop making it. If you only watch and buy from people who show you Lamborghinis and all of their business videos, that's what they're going to continue to make. Because people use analytics of what you're watching, how you're engaging. So if we really want to change on socials, we have to change what we engage with. We only want to see what's aesthetic to our eyes, or we got a problem with it. And it's just like, you got to pick a side. You want people to be themselves, or you want people to be cookie cutters? And then all the political stuff going on, it's just exhausting. I think we all kind of knew it was coming, but I didn't know it was going to be this bad. hopefully we see and make different choices next time around, because I've never really been a firm believer in the government. Honestly, they all give promises, and because there's so many different branches of the government, before this current one, it didn't seem like they have the ability to sway much change, really. There's just so many things about, like, being an American that are just so questionable. Like, am I the only person that when COVID happened and they came out with that vaccine super quick, and every other vaccine or medicine they create, it seems like it takes them forever? For instance, how long have we been donating for cancer research, childhood cancer, all that stuff? And it's like there's never a resolution. But I think as long as they're able to profit off of it, they ain't gonna, even if they have one, they wouldn't share it. It's really sad. Like, money is such a construct. In reality, like, this is a budgeting channel. Once you finally pull yourself out of the hole and you are around people with more money and stuff, you really start to think about, like, what money is and what gives it value, and why people want to hoard exorbitant amounts of it, when really money is just something we all made up to give things a price. And people are losing their lives over it. It's crazy. It's sad. Hopefully one day we just consider that we all put our pants on the same way in the morning. Like, at a certain point, can we stop worrying about how much melanin people do or don't have, or where people come from, as if we're all not immigrants on this land? And just learn to coexist. We are people, man. And as the people, if we stop biting each other's face off and realize that the government is the problem systemically, maybe we could make some real change. Because then people don't care about us. If you ain't insanely wealthy, maybe one day. These younger people seem to have a much more open mindset and such. So hopefully a couple generations from now, things will get better for them. All right. So our 800 challenge. This is complete. Let's count it up and see how much money we have saved. Oh, you thought I was about to be counting this by hand, huh? The money is pulling out my special treat. All right, so we've got our money counter. Let's see what we managed to save. Error. It's because they folded. 732. So we know that's not right. Let's do it again. If not, I may have to count it. Come on, money. Act right. This is upsetting me and my homegirl. Just sit on the floor for now. I'll manually count the folded ones, because I ain't got time. All right, so much for that. I'm going to actually count it. It don't like my raggedy bills, so I was really planning on flexing on y'all with my strip club bill counter, but, you know. Life won't let me be great, man. It has been forever since I've been on YouTube. I be like, I need to record a YouTube video. And then I be having 75 other things to do. And the minute I do get a second, I just be wanting to sit down somewhere. All right, let's count her up here. 100, 51, 52, 200. I got my calculator here. 20, 40, 60, 81, 20, 40, 60, 82, 20, 40, 60, 83, 20. Tens. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And that's $800 to the dollar. So for our 800 club, we have $800. Our 1500 challenge. This should be $1,500 saved and secured. So let's get this money unstuffed. Whew, halfway. Let's do the other side. Finally, the last two from our 1500 challenge. It looks so weird, empty. That's so crazy. All right, so we're finished with that one. Let's get it all organized and count it up. So how are y'all doing financially? Leave me a comment right now and let me know. Are you like, I got my mind made up, this is my year, I'm about to get it together. Have you been getting it together for several years? Are you already on track? to growing your wealth, becoming financially free. And what does that look like for you? I think enough of us don't sit down at the beginning of our financial awakening, we'll call it, and really think about our own personal money goals. I think a lot of times, especially in the era of social media, so many people get into the comparison thing. You want stuff just because other people have it. And that is the quickest way to have no money. Especially, I think everybody didn't grow up poor, so everybody may not understand this experience. And we really only sat and talked about it, my niece and I, because there was a debate on TikTok surrounding impoverished people having children. People on both sides of the argument. You know, the eugenics side, and then the people who grew up poor and were like, it sucked. And it does. That played a big part in the reason why I don't personally have children. Like, you don't realize how living in the struggle isn't everybody's journey until you grow up and get access to people who didn't. You know, not saying they were even rich, just they had more stability at home. And you're like, oh. You know, and it's not just the, you know, lack of clothes or shoes or anything like that.
I ate noodles with no packet. Cereal with the canned milk. Powder milk. No milk.
It's the lack of opportunities and access. You know what I mean? Like, I've always wanted to be, like, fiscally prepared before I ever had children if I did, but, like, since turning 26 or 27, I kind of knew that wasn't my journey. But money in general, like poverty and trying to pull yourself out of it, especially as a person of color, it's a tough journey. Like, people talk about breaking generational cycles and stuff like that, and it's more than just, you know, passing down trauma. I think we don't understand how sometimes we don't have anything to pass down. Your kids, you drag your kids through the struggle with you, and they're just supposed to, you know, hold on for the ride. And the thing is most times people who have really bad financial traumas and stuff like that, to where they're really impoverished, their kids feel it in more ways than just the what we can and can't have. You're exhausted from working so many jobs, so there's no time for them. Like, the kids stop even asking to be in things or go to things because they love you and know you don't have it. And so it kind of creates a mindset growing up when you had parents like that, where, like, you have trouble asking for things and you don't expect much. You feel like you have to work yourself to the bone for everything you have. They tend to impart that if you don't work hard, you can't have it thing. But in today's day and age, it's about working smarter, not harder. So you have to unlearn that. You have to unlearn all the negative money beliefs, because, honest to God, before you ever have any money, you have the worst money beliefs, especially if you grew up poor. So learning that you can use money as leverage, use it as a tool, those are all things you have to learn, and unlearn the things that your parents taught you about money or that your life experience taught you about money. I just think that's the part of the conversation that was missed. At the end of the day, people are going to do what they do with their bodies, but your kids feel that too, you know? You grew up and had your childhood. You want them to have freedoms and opportunities too. There'll always be struggle and always be difficulties and things like that. But take me, for example, I grew up in a single family home. No mom. She was drug addicted. My dad was he's not dead or anything, a Vietnam vet, but he, you know, if you know anything about that era, they weren't treated well by people in the government because of things they had to do in war. And so he has, like, real bad PTSD. So we weren't like the lights were off every month poor, but we were, I know we poor. So, like, it just, like, I never, and he was, because of his own issues that stemmed from his impoverished childhood, piled on top of the PTSD, he was so tight with money. Like, he was one of those people who would let stuff fall apart before he fixed it. And it would end up costing him more than it just would to maintenance it. We were always, like, aware that we couldn't afford things, didn't have health insurance, didn't see a dentist till I was an adult. just like, we never really had full fridge. We never, because he wasn't like getting food stamps and stuff like that. So I just always, it wasn't like I would come home and, you know, all our stuff would be outside, but it was like, I understand there's just things we can't do and we won't have. And so because he was impoverished, I ended up getting a basketball scholarship, worked hard for it, got there, had no guide on like how to even sign up for classes, everything I've done, I kind of had to figure it out on my own because there was nobody to share that life experience with me. So it just, you know, it has certain hurdles, and it does build resilience though. And I don't know if that's also a mindset we need to let go of, where we feel like we have to be strong and resilient. But like, I don't remember a lot of positive things. I remember going without. I remember like people always having more or nicer things than us, and all the people around us were also like middle class people. But I was just like always jealous because he would never buy me clothes. He would never get my hair done. He would never. And again, there's no woman in the house, so. But everything always stemmed back to money. And I think that's why ultimately this is my business, is because the one thing that I've understood as a woman who came from nothing to now having money is that money creates options. Like, if nothing else, I have the luxury to move and do as I please. And that's not a luxury you have when you're poor. And then poor children, it's just, again, it's the lack of options. It's not always about the clothes and shoes, but to pretend that how you're dressed and how you present yourself doesn't affect how you're received by your peers. It's a little crazy because, you know, especially as you get up in age, people are mean. And people are mean to the poor kids. So I saw both sides of the argument. It's quite interesting. Okay, 1,500 challenge. Let's get this one counted up. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130. Okay, up next is 10s. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130. 20s. 20, 40, 60, 81, 20, 40, 60, 82, 20, 40, 60, 83, 20, 40, 60, 84, 20, 40, 60, 85, 20, 40, 60, 86, 20, 40, 60, 87, 20, 40, 60, 88. And I'll start with one, I hope. 50, 100, 150, 100, 200, 300. So we have $1,510 in our 1,500 challenge. Oh, let me take another picture. Yeah, man, I get on TikTok and a lot of those debates, it's so crazy to see both sides of it. But that one, I think a lot of people were taking offense because they were lower income parents instead of like just hearing the argument. But I'll be trying to hear the argument, okay? Rich as Duck, this is supposed to be $1,700. Yep, $1,700.